Welcome to the Property Unleashed podcast, a show about property, entrepreneurship, and personal development. This show is designed to give you the foundations and building blocks to move forward on your journey and live a more inspired life. Hello and welcome to the Property Unleashed podcast. I'm your host, Mark Fitzgerald, and it's fantastic to have you joining me here this week. For one, I'm absolutely still loving bringing these to you week on week. Mark my words, every Thursday there will be a new episode out for you to listen to. And thank you again for all your support, for the reviews that have been left, the 5-star reviews, which are superb. Anybody that has left a review or has shared the podcast, I'd like to thank you personally now. If I haven't thanked you through any comments or through any feedback that I've been able to give you, it is much appreciated, and it does help the podcast to grow and build and help others on their journey out there. So today I wanted to cover and go through some of the things that you might not know about the rent-to-rent strategy. But before I start, I just want to make sure that people out there who need them are taking or trying or using the free resources that I do offer you. I do offer at this very moment in time a deal analyzing spreadsheet for rent to rent. You can use it on other property deals as well, or how long it will take you to recoup your money if you're doing a refurb. But it mainly works with doing the rent to rent strategy. And you can download that free of charge to you to make sure that you're stacking good deals. I'm here to help everybody, and I see a lot of people out there that are trying to put numbers together, that are trying to work on deals that just are not good deals for them, and they're going to regret signing the deals with these landlords. It really is about knowing what you're doing to make sure you set yourself up for success. So use these free tools and resources that I offer, that I've built myself. There's a 10-step on how to build a rent-to-rent business guide. There's a viewings guide that tells you what to say, what not to say, and what you should be looking for when walking around properties. And there's the deal analyzing spreadsheet that I've put together as well, that you again can use or not use, but it hasn't cost you anything whatsoever to have these tools at your disposal and just practice and use them. So they're in the show notes. If you're listening on different platforms and you cannot find them in the show notes, then if you look me up on social media, either on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram, if you click on the link in my bio just below my little smiley face picture, you will be taken to a website that will show you all of the links that you need to just press to download the different resources that you need. So that is out of the way. Let's move on with today's show. A lot of people, when they start in rent to rent, they think it's a great idea, it's a great concept, and they want to jump straight in. So they may just watch a YouTube video, they may, listen to a few podcasts, or read a few books. But at the end of the day, that'll only get you so far. A lot of people who start rent to rent want to start on a budget, and that is fine. I did the same. I started on a relatively small budget. I had taken voluntary redundancy, so I didn't have a lot of money to spend on properties. And the old conventional way that a lot of people are still teaching you and telling you is to find rundown properties, add value to those properties in rent to rent. So you find a property that is ran down a bit. Landlords are struggling to rent the rooms. And basically you put a few £1,000s into the property, get the uplift in the property, you can put the rents up, and that's where you can make your profit by doing so. I don't think that's a particularly healthy or good strategy to really take when doing rent to rent. And I wouldn't recommend that at all. I've never paid for a refurb on a property. I've never paid for deposits on a property. And to be fair, I wouldn't, unless the property was something special and I really, really wanted to do so. But there's a lot of different ways, a lot of creative ways you can go about doing rent to rent now without having to do all of that. If you find the properties have to have this level of work done to them, they have to have a refurb done, then why not try and negotiate with the landlords to be able to, pay for that work? Let them put the uplift into the properties. Let them actually put the money back into their own properties, and then you'll look after it. You'll maintain it to that standard, to that level. So as you're making your money, as you're looking after the properties, yes, there may be the odd decorating needed to be done. There may be a carpet needing changed or some furniture might break. But if you're making good profits and your deals stack up, which we'll get onto in a minute, then it won't matter. You can put this budget aside for your maintenance levels so that when something needs doing, you can pay the money and get it done, and it comes out of your profit, yes, but you're making good profit anyway, and it's all part and parcel of a business. Mark my words, rent to rent needs to be ran as a business. If you set it up as a business, you're setting yourself up for success. Yes, it can be a sole trader business, so you can have a limited company, or you can do it as a sole trader. I prefer a limited company because I believe when you're talking to agents and when you're talking to landlords, it shows that you're serious. You've set up a company, you're here for the long haul, and you're here to stay. You're here to do a really good job for whoever it is you're going to work with. So I like to set myself up like that. But again, if you were looking at keeping the cost down and you just want a handful of properties, you can set yourself up as a sole trader. But there are some requirements you need to have with this. So you need to have the relevant insurance, whether you're a sole trader or a business, to do rent to rent. You need to be a member of the PRS. You need to have ICO registration as well if you're holding people's details. There's many things that you really need to make sure that you know what you're doing and that you're doing the right things. You don't necessarily need all of those things at the beginning as well. So sometimes you can save a lot of money by not actually getting all the memberships and accreditations that you need right now. There's certain things that you need now, and there's certain things that maybe you can get once you get that deal. So you don't have to have all of that expense, and still you've actually got a deal and you've got some money coming in. So look at when you're setting up that you're setting yourself up in the right manners. If you're not sure, I would say go out there and get the insurance, go out there and get everything you need so that you know you are compliant. But if you want to be shown the right ways to do these sort of things, then like I say, there's a lot of free tools and resources out there. I won't go through it all in this video, but if you want to download the free 10-step how to build your rent-to-rent business, you can do. And in there, it explains to you what you need now and what you can get later on, and it'll help you out. So once you get hold of these properties, if you can get them in good nick, you still will need to buy some dressing, more than likely, to dress the rooms, to make them look their best, so that when tenants come and look at your properties, they're going to be looking at the rooms as if they want to be living in them. You want them to look like hotel rooms, to be quite honest with you. You want a wow factor. You want them to look like the pictures in the marketing, and if somebody comes through to look at your room, 9 times out of 10, they're going to want to take that room because they've already seen the pictures, they've already liked what they see. So dress them up, make them look smart. Don't dress them up and remove all of the dressing. If you've got, say, 3 rooms that are empty in one property, yes, you don't have to dress them all. I would say dress the best room, or potentially dress the room that you think you might struggle to rent first. So if there's a room that's a little bit smaller than the other ones, maybe dress that room, make it look better. See if you can get that tricky room to go first. And then as you rent the rooms out, you can move the dressing into the other rooms. I always personally remove all the dressing when somebody moves in. Why? Because 9 times out of 10, they've got their own stuff. They don't need my stuff in the way. 2, it's so I can reuse it. And that's the way it is. If anybody did want the bedding or anything like that, then they would have to buy it. It wouldn't come as part of the package. But you could do so. You could actually make that one of your sales techniques. If you're struggling to get rid of rooms, you could say free bedding. You know, if you go to the likes of Asda Living or anything like that, any of those cheaper shops, you can pick up duvets and pillows for under £10, to be quite honest with you. Get a nice duvet cover and matching pillow set, and you can offer it out as part and parcel of the rooms. There's so many different things that you can and can't do in property. It's superb, but there's more things that you can do. So when you're looking at actually taking on the properties, you're looking at the setup costs. You're looking at the room rates. You're looking at what you're going to pay the landlord. What you need to be looking at is all that the numbers stack. You know, a deal is not a deal unless it's a deal. And I know that sounds silly, but it really is true. There are too many people out there at the moment that I see doing bad deals. Deals that are falling over. They're paying the landlords too much rent. Why? Because the landlords want the rents. Yes, people want a maximum they can have for their properties. What you've got to have is faith in what you're putting together. You've got to have faith in the deals that you're putting out there. Remember, you're offering a service. If you're doing rent to rent, you're going to look after the properties. You're going to remove all the hassle for the landlords. You're going to offer them a guaranteed rent for potentially up to 5 years, which could be worth, 60, 70, 80, more than that, £100,000 over 5 years. You're offering a service that is bespoken happen. And that comes at a price. It comes at a cost. And if people don't recognize that and don't want to work with you with those costs, they're not people you want to be getting into bed with. They're not people you want to be doing deals with. You want to keep looking and keep trying your best to find those good deals. You don't want to become, as they say, a motivated buyer. Yeah, you're not buying the properties, but you know what I mean. By being a motivated buyer, you're looking to try and do any deal that you can get your hands on. And if that deal's not a good deal, it's not worth doing. So make sure that your numbers stack up and they are solid. Always plan for the worst case scenario. Never get hold of a deal or look or stack a deal and think to yourself, I can get the bills down to this and I can put the room rent all the way up to this. And if I can add an extra £10 per room, listen, if it's not an extra £10 per room in your area and there's nothing significant that you can do to the property, you're going to struggle to rent your rooms. Empty rooms will cost you more than a room at standard rate. So make sure you can fill your rooms. I keep my rooms in a good spec for the area, and also I keep them middle of the range prices, and my rooms rent out no problem. That is how I stack my deal. If for any reason I can get more on my room rents at any point, brilliant, happy days, that's more money for me. But right here, right now, that works really, really well. And within 1 or 2 weeks, I can have my rooms filled if I ever have a void, which I do. We're going to have voids, so don't panic. Don't panic when tenants want to leave. Don't panic when you've got to fill your rooms. Just make sure you've got your dressing handy. Just make sure that you make sure the rooms are nice and clean and tidy and any decorating's done that needs doing. Once you've done that, you market the property, you market the rooms, you be proactive in your marketing and answer questions very quickly from Spare Room or any other site that you're using, and make sure that you are on it. And that's the difference as well. When you look at letting agents and you say, well, why can't the letting agents or the landlords rent the rooms out? If the area is good, if the tenant demand is good and it's there and it's in an area where people need that sort of accommodation, which, listen, let's face it, that's pretty much everywhere at the moment. Do you know what I mean? HMOs, unless you're out in the middle of the sticks, are working anywhere. So just make sure that you know your market. You're not trying to fit students in an area for professionals or likewise professionals in a student area. That is where things might get tricky and might not work in your favor. Make sure you know your areas. Make sure your prices are good prices. Make sure your rooms are good standard, and you will rent your rooms. You will make your money. But make sure your deals stack at a moderate level, not at a top level in case anything drops. And if you can do it at a bottom level, and then you're going to put some money into the property and you're happy to do the refurbs yourself, then obviously happy days, it'll stack. But make sure it does stack, or you could run out of money very, very quickly. And if you're doing it on a modest budget, that is going to be sooner rather than later that you're going to hit a bit of trouble, okay? So make sure that stacks up. Other things you can look at, obviously, when you take a property on, is a rent-free period. If the rooms and everything are empty, you can look to ask the landlord to have a rent-free period until either you fill the rooms or just give you, 4 weeks or 6 weeks rent-free period whilst you market the property and whilst you fill it up. Most people won't have a problem with that because they've got a void at the moment, and the quicker obviously you can fill them, the quicker you can start paying that guaranteed rent. So that can work really, really well. It's very important when you're negotiating that you're saying the right things and making sure that you don't say the wrong things, particularly when you're doing viewings, which again is why I have a guide on viewings. So my 10-step to rent business building has a guide for viewings as well. And that gives you a few questions and answers of what to say and what not to say when doing viewings, so that you can put yourself in the best position to be able to stack the deals and to not talk yourself out of a deal, or maybe even talk yourself into a bad deal just because you don't know what you should or shouldn't be saying. So that's very important. And again, it's another free resource that goes out there that tries to help you on your rent-to-rent journey. And I think lastly, you just need to really know your costs. And when I say costs, we're talking about utilities. Yes, utility companies are going up in price. So we have to make sure that we stack the numbers there. Always go worst case scenario. So get on the money supermarket websites for your utilities and have a little look what they're going for in your area. And if you can only get it on, so to speak, family lets or single lets, then obviously you can take a broad stroke and a broad picture from that. One of the best ways to actually know what is being paid on the property is just to ask the landlord. Just ask them what they're paying on their bills and if they can send you any statements over so you can have a bit of proof when it's going. If they're not lying or they're not fibbing about any of the bills or costs, then they'll quite happily show you what they're currently paying for any of the bills. Also, take that with a pinch of salt, because if they are set up on a sort of set payment rent, it doesn't necessarily mean that by the end of the year they're not going to owe a few £100 on top of what they're paying. So have a look at what it is and engage it for yourself. If in doubt, really, it's quite good just to ask people. If you get yourself in the right community, if you put yourself with the right people, you can normally ask those questions in some property groups and things. I have a property group, the Rent to Rent Business Builder free group. So come in there, and if you're not sure of utilities or anything, you can ask the questions in there. And myself or one of the people in the community there will be more than happy to help you and point you in the right direction. And one thing I would just say before I go today is look at when in the year you're actually taking deals on. In my experience, August is never a great month for getting new tenants. So if you took a property on at the beginning of August, it might take you that month to fill the rooms, because everybody tends to go on holiday or is doing other things. And likewise, December and the beginning of January. January normally takes a couple of weeks to start heating up. As you can imagine, there's a lot of sore heads as we go into January. And December, well, something happens in December that everybody sort of takes notice of. So when it's those sort of months, you either want to be rushing the deals through beforehand, saying to the landlords, listen, let's get this deal done, because in August we don't tend to take properties on. We'll have to wait till September. And likewise, if you were looking to take something on in December, I would say I want a rent-free period, because obviously not much might happen in that time. So we want to get into January. We want to get the tenants in. We want to get it rocking and rolling. And we want to make it a win-win for everybody. So make sure that when it comes to your rent-to-rents, that you look at these things, that you make a note of these things. And if you can tick these boxes off as you're going, you will put yourself onto a winner. Get out there and let's make people proud with this strategy. Rent-to-rent sometimes gets a bad name, and it does get a bad name because there's a lot of people trying to do it without the full facts and without the full knowledge. If you're interested in getting the full facts, the full knowledge, and actually the roadmap to be able to get your rent-to-rent business off the ground, then please have a look at my Rent-to-Rent Business Builder 90-day program. Also, come and join us in the free Rent-to-Rent Business Builder Facebook group, and we can help each other move forward and make sure that we don't make any mistakes by lack of knowledge. More than welcome to come in there, ask any questions that you might have, and look for the support from the team and the group in there. So that wraps up this week's show. Again, thank you for joining me. I hope you do come and join us again next week. If you've enjoyed this and you've got anything from it, then please feel free to leave a review or just share this with people or a community that you think would benefit from it. As I say, it's much appreciated from my good self, and I really enjoy putting these together for you all. So make sure that you're putting your plans together. Make sure you are focusing on your vision and how you can get there, and the steps that you need to take day in and day out to move you forward. And I will see you later.